Hi everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing the Gizmos website, and this resource is offered through explorelearning.com, and it is applicable to teachers 3rd grade probably through 12th grade for math and science only. It's very easy to set up an account. There is a free aspect of this resource, but then also a subscription version that offers a lot more. You can easily set up an account by creating a username and password and connecting that to your school district, school, and grade level. And I've already done that, so I'll go ahead and log in to show you what the teacher dashboard looks like and some of the resources that you can utilize through that. So first, once you get logged in, you will want to create a class, and you can do that very easily by going into this Manage Class tab and renaming the class. And if you have more than one class, like you can see I have several tabs up here, you just hit the plus sign to create a new class. Then once you have your class, you create your class roster, and there's several options to do this. If you have younger elementary grades, I would recommend creating your roster prior to introducing this to students. You do that by just entering their first and last names, and then it gives you a username and password. That's pretty simple, and you can print those username and password cards for your students. But for older grades, I would recommend just using this class code that you can just project on your projector. They log into the website and enter the code, and it prompts them to create their own username and password that links directly to your class roster. So easier for you that way if you have more capable students. Once you have your class roster set up, you're going to want to select gizmos that will apply to what you teach. And the gizmos are learning opportunities for your students. They are lessons that walk students step by step through a skill in a scaffolded way, and then also assess them at the end. So to search for gizmos, you'll go to this Find Gizmos button, and you can search by standard, grade, and topic or textbook, but then it also offers these free gizmos for the free version of the account, which you can also narrow down. So if I search for grades 3-5 science and select a skill that I do teach my 3rd grade class, it's very easy to get a brief overview of what the activity will teach students, and then add it to your class that you would like to assign it to, and then it's available automatically for your students on their account. But as the teacher, you can also launch the gizmo and kind of review through it what the students will be asked to do. For this, this is kind of the activity workspace. It's interactive, so I really like that in terms of level of rigor and Bloom's taxonomy and depth of knowledge. There is a lot of creation that needs to happen here and a lot of applying skills. Students really need to understand what they are learning about while they manipulate this workspace. And it's followed by a assessment. That's a 5-question assessment. It is multiple choice, and because of that, I feel like the rigor is maybe a little bit lower when it comes to the assessment phase, because it is a little bit more of just remembering and recall DOK levels 1 and 2. But also important to point out is the additional lesson info that are essential to completing the gizmo with students, and that is a student exploration sheet, teacher guide, and a vocabulary sheet. These PDF documents come with every gizmo and are necessary for the students to create or complete the gizmo activities. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in one of the gizmos that I've already assigned my class. So I'm going to pull up the Fraction Garden, which helps my third graders compare fractions, and show you a little bit more about what the students will use. So again, for every gizmo, you're going to want to have prepared the student exploration sheet and maybe even the vocabulary sheet for students, and review the teacher guide, which gives you good background knowledge on the skill and also tips for scaffolding the activity for both struggling learners and more advanced learners. So this is what the student exploration sheet looks like. Every one starts with prior knowledge questions, and then it takes students through a warm-up activity, which helps them learn how to use this lesson workspace and how to use all the buttons that they need to click and how to kind of use it to their advantage to learn from. And then it scaffolds up from there with 3 activities: an activity A that builds on to activity B, that builds on to activity C. And by the time they're at the end of activity C, students are much more challenged. They're needing to really apply the learning that they've done in the previous activities. So this is going to be a higher depth of knowledge by the time they're completing a lesson, whereas up at the top, it's really just introductory, more kind of direction-based, do this, do that, do this, do that. So now that I've talked you through the teacher side of things, I will go ahead and just show you real quick a little bit of the feedback that you get as a teacher. So when you're on your class page for the teacher, I guess, dashboard, you can see for an activity this little view assessment results icon, kind of looks like a graph, will pop up for that gizmo, and it shows you your class roster. And then I went ahead and just did one for this Aubrey student for the comparing fractions to show how that looks on the teacher side. It isn't a lot of data here. You just see a percentage, the number they got right out of the 5 on the assessment. It doesn't even go into deeper analysis of what skills were missed for the student. It's just a quick snapshot. So in terms of this really being adaptive learning, I would definitely say that this tool requires the teacher to do a lot more analysis on their own and a lot more management of the system than some of the other adaptive learning tools that you all have reviewed that kind of do it for you and automatically assign the student to the next skill that's appropriate based on their assessment results. So this is really it in terms of feedback on the teacher end. But now I'm going to log out of the teacher account and go in as a student to show you what the student page looks like. So this is my student Aubrey, and notice how all the gizmos that I have assigned to her pop up on her home screen, and all she has to do is click it or click launch gizmo to see what that looks like. And then as a student, they are going to use the activity sheet that you've printed out for them to walk them through the steps. Once they finish the activity sheet, which again, different from many of these other adaptive learning tools and online learning environments that we've created, students do have to have that paper and pencil addition to what they're doing on the computer. Then they take the assessment, and what you can see is that she's already taken this quiz, and the student can go back and see their past results and they can redo, but that's not something that automatically gets assigned to them. The teacher would need to inform the student to do that. And then also when they do, I'm just going to go in and click some choices. When they do submit their answers, I'll show you what the what the student sees as feedback. They get their scores here. And then it does go through and tell the student what they answered, and if it was incorrect, they give the correct answer explanation, which I think is pretty standard for multiple choice feedback. So that's kind of typical. And that's really the student end. So, sort of to summarize, for this tool, I guess I would kind of say that the best things about the Gizmos tool is that it's interactive for students. I personally like that there's the paper pencil combination with the online work so that there is something physically output by the students. And it really guides them and scaffolds them through the activity. The thing that is not so great about it, I think, is that the feedback level is pretty weak for students. And for the teacher end, you need to do a lot more in-depth understanding of each student's work to really know what to do for them next. It isn't automatically adaptive. And it doesn't have a really in-depth report that a teacher can print out and share with parents or even share directly with the student. And then also that it's not free, that there is the subscription version that would really maybe prevent a lot of teachers from getting the most out of using it. So that is my analysis of the Gizmos website, and I definitely think it's a tool that I'll use to some degree with my class and then kind of go from there. So thank you very much.